Hello, I'm Marvin Pierce with Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher. And we're 2 minutes late. It's not my fault. I was here. But people are like getting dinner ready and trying to eat and get videos ready and
talk about dogs.
And talk about training dogs, actually. Me and Bianca was. So we're just gonna talk for a few minutes and wait for some people to get on here. I think for me tonight's subjects are going to be pretty awesome, I feel, because of the fact that we're going to talk about the next level of dog training with us. How to get dogs quiet, quit barking at doors, how to get dogs quit chewing on things, what's the best amount of visits for a 3-month boarding train, which I think is a 3-week boarding train, and what do I feel is the right age to do boarding train with dogs? How much training do they get during boarding train with different people? Me, I don't know. I feel there's different different amounts of time with different trainers. I feel there's different amounts of time that a dog might get today versus tomorrow or versus yesterday. Sometimes it's the dog, how much they can handle. Sometimes it's what we're doing for training that day with dogs. A lot of our training with our dogs, by the time they're here the 3rd week, we'll use the dogs in other training sessions. We'll use the dogs to take them out with other packs of dogs to train on them. There's no set time or amount of time that we train on a dog. The person who was here the other day, they commented that for me, they felt my training was a lot different and kind of the opposite of a lot of people. Instead of me being more worried about teaching Fido to sit and stay or come to me all the time, I start with them not pulling me around on a leash. I think that's huge for me. If we put the pinch collars on the dogs that we use and we start training on them not to drag me around. If I can get them quit dragging me around, we're already got ahead of the game a lot. Sometimes the big strong dogs, we had a big lab cross dog in here a while back, and he probably weighed 80, 90 pounds, I'm guessing. I don't know, he's a big old dog anyway, but he was strong. He would drag you down on the floor. And the lady that owned him, she couldn't have weighed it, I don't think, 90 pounds soaking wet. And so she just, I don't know, I don't feel that she could have won. And she was probably, I don't know, in her 70s maybe. But when she came and got the dog the other day, Bianca was here. I wasn't here when she took the dog home. And Baxter, I think was his name, big black. Was he full lab or lab cross?
He was half English, half American lab.
Half English, half American lab.
Yeah.
But he was a big beast of a dog. And he could lock in 4-wheel drive and drag you. And the neat thing for me was when he left here, she could walk that dog and not worry about him dragging her on the leash. Now, when she got back to town, I'm not sure. We ain't heard from her, so evidently he's been doing good. And which I feel that he was here 3 weeks. Bless you. And we had, I don't know, Kay and Linda and Nancy and Bianca and me, Mariah handled him. Everybody around here handled that dog. And for me, I think that's one of the things that make him so good on the leash is just getting handled by a lot of different people. Because everybody don't handle a dog the same. Some people let the leash be a little bit tight. Some people don't want the leash tight at all. Some people just happy if a dog isn't dragging them on the ground. So for me, it goes back to the dog has to learn to be handled by that handler. And some people walk faster than others. Dogs got to learn that. Some people jog with a dog. Dogs got to learn to jog. Some people want to run. They got to learn to run. It's whatever someone's doing. If you stop, tie your shoelace, the dog got to stop. And I think that's one of the things that the people don't take into consideration when they start teaching a dog to lead. They're so stuck on that dog being perfect by their leg, yet they're not perfect nowhere else in the world. Me, I tell people my dog just can't pull the leash, whether he's on a 6-inch leash or a 100-foot leash. I think sometimes if people go to that, it makes it a lot easier for the dog to walk by your leg because they learn not to pull on the leash. So, and we got a few people on here now, Brett?
Yes, sir, we sure do.
So we're going to talk tonight about dogs chewing up everything. For me, I feel that sometimes dogs chew on everything because they are bored. They got a lot of energy they need to burn out. People don't do it. I feel sometimes people get a high energy, high drive dog and they don't get it exercised. we've had dogs here that we've taught to run on treadmills because the owners knew they weren't going to exercise their dog enough. So they asked us to teach them to run on treadmills, and we did. And it makes a lot of difference. Me, up here in the kennels, there's dogs that I'll run on treadmill, and I'll sit in front of the treadmill and drink my coffee while the dog's on the treadmill running a mile or two. And they're perfectly happy. They'll go get on the treadmill because they like to run. So for me, that's one of the things with the chewing toys. Socks, shoes, whatever. Another thing is I feel that people don't teach a dog to just settle down and flip a switch off and relax. And we had a pup here today. I don't remember what his name was. That 4 or 5 month old lab puppy, little black one. The two sisters bring him. Is it Jedi? Jedi. The two sisters bring him up, the blonde girls. Yeah. The husband, the dad, I guess, of the dog, I don't know. He came up today, him and his sister-in-law with the dog. And he said he couldn't believe that dog just was so cool and chilled out and being good. And I think this was their third lesson today. I believe it was the third lesson. And we have e-collar on the pup, and he comes when they call him now. Pretty good. I mean, he's not great, but he does pretty good. And, you know, for me, it goes back to the fact I feel that they have so much fun training with that pup.
They do.
It's not like they got to make themselves do it. They do it because they love doing it. They want a really awesome dog. And I feel what helps that pup a lot is we had Bear and Roxy and Mari out with them today. A couple times that little pup got stuck, like he didn't want to come to him because he was over with one of my dogs, and I called my dog to me, and I was standing by the people, and their pup came on to them. So for me, it's just, I don't know, it's cheating, whatever you want to call it, but it works. And the dog enjoyed it. He had a good time. And then the owner said that he couldn't get a ball from him. He was just terrible about playing ball, and he said they're going to have to work on it. And I said, well, let's go in the round pen. We went in the round pen, we threw the ball. The guy called the dog to him, and I was standing like 3 feet from the guy, and the little dog brought the ball right to me. As soon as I touched it, he let it go. And he couldn't believe it. But he changed that much, but I think he changed that much because of the fact that he didn't have to be crazy no more. He could just be a puppy, but yet he could settle himself down. So it made a lot of fun. So a lot of times with the chewing everything in the house, for me, put the dogs in the crate, teach them to go to their place, their bed, whatever you want to call it. Take them outside more often, let them play. You know, if you got a puppy, I mean, it's nothing to not need to exercise them every hour or two. And they, a lot of times, depending on their age, but they might need 5 minutes exercise, and they're ready to go lay down and take a break, kind of like me. I don't need to run around a lot. But if you start doing that with your pups, a lot of the chewing things go away. One guy here today, they were doing a program where they had like 50 different toys for their dog, and they rotated them out so the dog didn't get tired of the toys. And they had like 3 or 4 or 5 different types of treats. And they got one type of treat if they were pretty good, but they got a better treat if they were better.
I value.
Yes. And I'm like, damn, that's just like, I'd get confused, and my dog would never do nothing because I'd always be feeding him the wrong treat. So, I don't know. I don't do treat training. Irene brought us a big old box of milk bones for dogs up there yesterday. It's like, really? So now I guess we got to throw those things to some dogs. But I don't do it because they did something. So that should take care of the chewing. We got any more questions today?
Yeah, Marvin, we have a ton of questions rolling in.
Really?
Yeah, do you want to run through what you have?
Yeah, let me run through these real quick.
Okay.
Front door barking. I'm throwing Suzanne under the bus. I was trying to text her. I'm hoping, is Suzanne on here tonight?
I don't know.
All right, Suzanne, if you're on here, I'm throwing you under the bus. I think that's what you call it.
Does it make it better if you warn them?
Yeah, I'll throw you under a short bus. Check this out.
Do you want it on the camera?
Oh, it's Bronk.
Bronk's watching me on Facebook Live.
That's awesome.
Oh, Mary, that is awesome.
So, I'm going to throw Suzanne under the bus. This morning, when we were doing the next level dog training out in the field, the exact same thing. Suzanne's been asking me how to get Bodie to quit being crazy about the door. And so I said, I'll just run over sometime and we'll fix it real quick. And she's like, all right. And so this morning we were out there doing the next level training thing. And we would go back in the kennel and we put all the dogs up. I said, hey, what are you doing right now? She's like, I'm going to work some dogs. I said, why don't we just run to your house and fix your dog? She's like, really? I said, yeah, let's go. And it was like, I don't know, 9 o'clock or whatever, 10 till 9. And she's like, all right. So we took off to her house. And so she had her daughter and son-in-law, well, her son-in-law in a week or two to leave and come back because the dog lost his mind when they come in. So they came back to the door and he's like, "Urgh." And I don't know, she said something and so he shut up. And then they started to open the door and he started barking. So I bumped him with the e-collar and I'm like, hot, and hit the e-collar and he's like, I'm done. He was done.
Yeah.
There was no more come out of it.
Understood.
Yeah, he just quit. And so we went to the door, and it's the same thing as people talking about this question about dogs bark at doors. So what we done is we had him go in and out 2 or 3 times, and he didn't even care. He just went over and sat down. He's like, I'm good. So I left. I said, I'm going to leave and come back. So I went down and turned around out in the road with my car and came back in, walked up, and knocked on the door. Came in, Bodie started a little bit, and they just told him shut up, whatever, and he quit. He went over and sat down on the floor, and he was done. He was like 20 feet from the door, whatever. And so I said, now, for me, the dogs barking at the doors, I don't know, I can't imagine it, but I see it all the time on TV, and people send videos and stuff. And anybody out there, if you got dog problems, send us a video on your dog, and we'll try to help address it or whatever on Facebook Live or something, or you come in for lessons. If you come in for lessons, whatever, we'll have a video of what your dog's doing. But for me, the first thing is, if your dog respects you and you say quiet, he's got to shut up. Like when I was a child, Dad said shut up. That's what he meant. And that's what I did. Before or after the reprimand or the whatever, backhand down the floor or whatever I got. But I shut up. So for me, if your dog's barking at the door, if like Suzanne, I told her, I said, now get between the dog and me. Because I was still walking in the door. Make your dog back up. And she had a carpet and then she had a hardwood floor. I said, make him get on the carpet and draw the line that he can't get off. Build an imaginary wall. So she had Bodie get on the carpet and he would put both front feet right off the edge of the carpet on the hardwood floor. And he knew what she wanted.
Yeah.
And I said, no, make him get on the carpet. So he put 1 foot on the carpet. So then he had 3 feet on the carpet, 1 foot on the hardwood floor. I'm like, no, make him get all 4. So he turned around, I think, and went over and sat down. He's like, okay, I'm good. But it's just that, guys and gals. You just give them an inch, they take a foot. But if you take the foot and say no, they're like, okay, I'm good. They go chill. And I just texted Suzanne right before we started and asked her how Bodie was doing, but she hasn't said. So that's the thing, bark at the door. For me, it can happen. I always say a dog can bark when somebody comes to the door or peeking in the window or beating on the side of the house or pulling up the driveway, whatever you allow. Tell your dog they're good, and then you ask your dog to be quiet, and then that's the end of it. They just clocked out, so they got to shut up. If they don't shut up, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You didn't do something right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the test. I go to Big Finlay's house. If I come back with my hands bandaged up, it didn't work very good. What is the ideal amount of visits for I think it's a 3-week board and train. Right now we're done 4 for us. You get 4 lessons. As part of the package we do for 3-week board and train. And then you can add more. I think it's $40 a lesson, 30-minute lessons if you want to do more. A right age to do board and train. We try to do board and train at 6 months old. We don't like to do it no younger. We do some dogs if they're really seeming like a mature dog. Once we evaluate them and see what we think, we'll let them come in at 5 months or something, 5.5 months. But it depends on the dog and the owners. Some owners have a hard time. I don't think I'm supposed to say that. Dogs have a hard time.
We have kennels for the owners too.
Yeah, we do. So how much training they get, I already answered that. It depends on the dog and what we need to do with the dogs. A lot of these dogs, just training is just being away from mom and dad and learn to be in a kennel. And come in and out of the kennel with the door open when they're asked, not just run through doors. And the gates, we've got like $2,000 worth of gates out there on our kennels and our training pens. And we use them all. Well, there's one gate, I guess, 2 gates we don't really use. One at our end of the lane and the one going up into the horse field. But the rest of the gates we use all the time. I mean, we'll walk through one gate and go through another gate just to teach a dog not to run off.
I think we should talk about, too, if people ask how many sessions or how long should it take to train a dog, what do you want out of your dog? Because when people ask me how long it took me to train Scout, I'm like, I'm not done.
Yes. And you know, the thing is, when people say a finished dog, what's a finished dog?
Yeah.
To me, a finished dog's a dog you buried.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
You know? So the sky's the limit. The little Roxy dog we got up here, the little one that fit in my boot, she came here at 10 weeks old and she ate everybody's ass. She didn't like nobody. She didn't like no dog. She didn't like nothing. And they couldn't sedate her, I think the girl said, no more to do her teeth because she was too old and she was too mean. She'd eat everybody if they tried to do them. And we had her here for 3 weeks boarding training. She didn't get worked with enough to even say she did. But she got petted and she got handled by 10 or 12, 15 different people.
Out with dogs.
She got taken in and out. She had dogs around her. I mean, she, to me, in my world, she got treated like a dog instead of a kid. And that lady brought her back the other day for 10 days for boarding while she was going to Mexico or New York or Hawaii or wherever she went. But she's like, I was so proud of my dog. I took her to the vet the other day and they cleaned her teeth and they didn't even have no trouble. Nobody got bit. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And she said she's a totally different dog. But so for me, it always goes back to 99% of the dogs that come here for board and train, they are ill-mannered. Half, 3/4 of them will mouth on you. 99% of them will drag you on a leash. 99% of them won't come to you unless they want to. And they run through gates. They bail out of cars and trucks and they won't come back. So, I mean, that's just a common deal for dogs to come here. So, once we address all those things, then I say we can put bells and whistles on them.
Yeah.
If we can get all those dressed on. But for me, a dog's not finished training at 3 weeks. The owner's not finished. We get people just keep coming back. I mean, they come back once a week, once a month, whatever, just to keep getting better and better and better and be cooler and cooler and cooler with their dogs. So, for me, it's kind of what you want. And for me, I tell people all the time, you could come here and take a lesson a week a lot cheaper. You can drink a mocha a day from the frickin' wherever you get mochas at. Or whatever those coffees. I think they're mochas.
Starbucks, yeah.
I drank the $1 special from McDonald's.
Yeah.
I actually don't even do that. I think I get a 10-cent one now at the house. So, all right, what a question do we got?
Rodney asked, how do you choose a dry food? There are so many choices.
How many did what?
Rodney asked, how do you choose a dry food? There's so many choices. Do you want to address that now or later?
How do you choose?
Dry
There's more
dog food.
questions.
How do you choose kibble?
How do you feed dry dog food? How do you choose?
No,
How do you choose which one?
Well, man, that's a loaded question. Is Dari on here? You know, for me and Dari, she worked with us since I started Marvin Pierce Dog. Well, not since I started, since I opened as a business.
What kind of dog food is like a family job? Marvin Pierce dog teacher.
They asked what dog food. Everybody has their opinion. Me, I don't get nothing from Black Gold anymore. But back in the day, I got it delivered to my house, and we had a distributor here. I got a better price on it because I bought a pallet at a time and had all my cow dogs. You know, I've fed Black Gold for 10, 15 years. I've never had a problem with it. I've got people, I think, Bianca, what do you feed? Some special shit, right? Huh? She ain't even going to answer me. Her dog's special. Scout, he gets something special, probably $1.90 a pound food, and she eats 50 cents a pound bologna and cheese
He
sandwiches.
does not eat chicken and rice. Does that make me any better?
Me, I go back to Black Gold. I fed Black Gold, and Black Gold even has all kinds of food. They got, I think, salmon and squirrel and elk and deer and bear. I don't know what all they have, but they got all kinds of dog food too. But I think Black Gold's made like in Oklahoma, Kentucky, or somewhere, I think, Indiana, I don't know. I talked to him here recently, and for me, that's what I feed. I feed Black Gold the black bag. I've fed it for years. I've had 10, 15 dogs at a time, 18, 20 dogs, whatever. I've always fed that. I fed it to my puppies, you know, and it's like, I mean, it's a sin if you feed a puppy anything but some special kind of puppy food, and it's got to be soft kind of puppy food, and yada, yada, yada. And I went through that with the litter we had recently. I fed them all the high dollar shit everybody in the kennels told me to do. And when they left here, they were eating dry Black Gold dog food, and they were just all fat and happy, and I mean, there was no issues with them.
And we give our dogs NutriVet.
We do. We feed NuVet. We give a NuVet supplement to our dogs. It's made here in the States, and it's really regulated. Every pill has the exact same amount of ingredients in it. And we've been a dealer for NuVet for a long time now, and we do give that to our dogs. So I will say that. We do give them a good vitamin. So Yeah, dog food, man, that's a loaded question. It's like, do you drive a Chevy or Ford?
Yeah.
I kind of feel with dog food, it's like if you're a Chevy dealer, car salesman, that's the best car on the market. But tomorrow, if Ford calls them and gives them more money to come over there, Ford's the best car on the market next day. So I think dog food's the same way, except me. I don't get nothing for saying I feed black gold, but that's what I feed.
Okay.
All right, another question.
Katie said, my 7-month-old puppy has just started barking at everything that moves. How do I stop this?
How old a pup?
7 months.
And what is it?
That's a good question. They did not specify. I'll ask, but we don't have an answer yet.
You know, for me, whenever you get the puppies that bark at everything, I feel that it's because the owners talk to them, they read them a book about why they shouldn't bark, and they do bark. I go back to the command collars that we use. Like that pup, if you brought it here, probably in one lesson, you would just about learn how to get your pup to shut up barking and everything.
Bordoodle is what she says.
A what?
It's a bordoodle.
Border-doodle. Border collie doodle.
Man, that's like Mocha.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have one of those here, Mocha. She is cool. He's cool.
Yeah, he is.
He got here, he wasn't cool. He was a turd from nowhere to go. But he's a cool dog now. He comes back from boarding now. He's just here for a week or so. And
I feel like for that question, we were just talking about how sometimes people want a straight answer to one problem, and they really need to get a foundation on the dog.
They do.
And then all those things are pretty easy to fix.
it does. It comes right back. But the thing is, for me, the dogs that bark, and we've had them here numerous times, especially in a group class,
Yeah.
we'll have 6 or 8 dogs in there, and one of them will just bark, 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 and the owner can't get them shut up. And I'll go over and put a collar and a leash on them, and usually within 30, 45 seconds, they quit barking, they just shut up, and a lot of times they just sit down and listen. But it goes back to how you handle them. If you teach them to be quiet because you've asked them to, or if you're talking to them and dragging them around with a harness, ask them to be quiet. Normally, it's hard for them to be quiet. But for me, like I said, if you put the pinch collar on them, you just play with them, teach them to be on a loose leash, and then they'll be quiet. If they're not quiet, then for me, I just work them with the collar. I'll pull them around, move them around, play with them a little bit, and then they'll shut up. As soon as they do, I'll be like, good. And that's in the conversation. If they start in barking, I'll move them around a little bit, and then I'll get them to be quiet, and I'll tell them we're good. And after a little while, they'll just shut up.
Okay. Rodney asks, my dog behaves great on a leash with a prong collar, but then is a puller on a slip. Should I just...
A puller what?
But then is a puller on a slip collar. So he's asking, should I just always have her on the prong when
I would. I'd always have her on the prong collar until I teach her to be good. My dog, Barry, Roxy, and Mari, I can't imagine they would pull me. I can't imagine Scout would pull you, but he might if there's a tree around.
Yeah, true.
No, I can't imagine any of our dogs here would. I mean,
Yeah.
Sully might, unless she tones him or something.
Poor Jocelyn.
We'll pick it on her today. But no, for me, you know, the thing about training is I've had one couple here, I don't know, 6 months ago or whatever. They came here with a border collie or something dog. And they had gotten a pinch collar from us, they had got a leash from us, and they've got electric collar from us. They had learned how to use them. Their dog was awesome. They pulled in one day and they parked down the old barn, I don't know why. And their dog drug him up to the barn to me. I was waiting in front of the barn. And I'm like, where's your pinch collar? And the lady's like, it's right here in my pocket. I'm like, you know, I've found that they work better if you put them on the dog, but I don't know. And I'm like, what about your electric collar? And the guy's like, oh, it's right here in my coat pocket. I'm like, you know, they work better too if you put them on the dog. They don't work very well in your pocket. So the thing is, for me, until you get the dog trained, use the training tools.
And if you try it, you feel like you've got the dog trained and you put the sleep leash on and he pulls on you, he might not be ready.
Yeah, he's just not trained yet.
Yeah.
Or you're not, you know. For me, people always ask me if they can leave their husband or wife here and take the dog home.
We usually agree.
Yeah, a lot of times that is the case. The dogs are easy, people's hard. So, next.
Okay, next one. Marvin, I'm starting to work with my mini Aussie to be companion/service animal. Any
Good luck.
suggestions on where to start? She's very eager to please, and she already goes everywhere with her. She's a little standoffish with certain strangers. She will occasionally bark at other dogs. She also can be dog aggressive while on a leash, so we avoid dogs while on a leash. But main goal is that they have a mini Aussie and they want it to become a companion/service animal. Any suggestions?
For me, go to a good trainer.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to be hard. You know.
Now, not later.
Yeah, sooner than later.
Yeah.
We had a guy come over here today with a 12-week-old puppy, a little border collie. And I didn't recognize the guy, Mike something or other. He's like, man, I was here when you was building your round pen. He said, you had a big mound of dirt with your skidster parked on it, and you stopped and done my lesson. I'm like, really? And that's been, I don't know, 10, 12, 15
Wow.
years. And he got out of the puppy, and so he's like, hey, the first thing I was doing, he said, I didn't even know you were still doing this. And he said, I seen your ad in the St. Paul flyer they passed out there. And he said, so I got a hold of it, and here I am.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Suzanne, I'm going to read Suzanne's comment. I'm going to throw her under the bus.
Okay.
I text Suzanne, asked her because I work with Bodie this morning. I don't know if I talked about it on here before,
Yep.
but on here. So Bodie having door problems. She said I'm absolutely the best, which I had to pay her for that later. But the biggest thing I feel with Suzanne is right here. She's like, thanks for being honest with me about what
Yes.
is needed.
Yes.
And that's the hard part for people. They ask me and then they get mad when I tell them. So Suzanne, no. But she said, from us on how to fix things, he's doing better already. You're magic. And so for me, that is the key. When you ask somebody to slap you in the face and tell you that you needed it, if you ask me, you need to expect to get slapped in the face. And me and someone talked about that today. He's like, you know, the bad thing about people is, he said for him, he asked him, you want my honest opinion, or do you want me to say what you want to hear? I'm like, well, my problem is I don't give those two options. If
Correct.
you ask me, I'll tell you you're paying me, so I'm going to tell you the truth. And I always try to be nice about it. And I love working with Suzanne. You know, she's so much fun. Her dog is cool, Bodie. I mean, he's one of the cooler dogs that we've got to train that was an ornery problem dog when he got here, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's because of the dedication from her and Jason Bowe.
Agreed.
And a lot of times with dog training, that's one of the problems is the husband's in it, the wife's not. The wife's in it, the husband's not. And they let everybody train on their dog instead of the people who are learning how to train on their dog.
Yeah.
It's like me walking down the street and stop some wino or bum and say, hey, you want to help me train my dog? And I give him the leash and start having him train on him. It's my fault.
Yeah.
I just screwed up.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with my Jody's dog. She don't train my dog, my wife, and I don't train. Well, I help her with her sometimes, but not very much because she gets mad at me. But I try to help. So whenever you ask somebody for their opinion, to me, you should expect the honest one. Mm-hmm. So back to your question with the little miniature Australian Shepherd. You already have your hands full if you're letting your dog. Well, the first thing is, for me, it's like if I say, oh, Bianca's a sweetheart, and she slaps me off on the floor, and I get up. And I'm like, she's really nice. And she slaps me again off on the floor. I'm like, get up. I'm like, you know, she's nice on Tuesday, but this is Wednesday. That's what we're dealing with the dogs. To me, it's like, how is your dog a sweetheart, but yet he wants to whip every dog he sees, and he wants to try to bite people, and he wants to run away, and he wants to jump on you, and he wants to mouth on you. The reason he's doing all the above is because of lack of training. It's not because he wants to be that way. He just doesn't know no better. And I feel that we encourage the behavior by talking to him. So with your mini Aussie, for me, the way to start is go to YouTube, Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher, our YouTube, our Instagrams, our Facebook pages, our website. Try to learn from us. If you're here local, set up a lesson. Come over and we'll evaluate you and your dog. We'll figure out what we need to do or what you need to do to make your dog better. But for me, in my training experiences, a dog like yours, if you're giving them treats, you're just throwing money down the drain because you're not getting nowhere. So you've got a question that would take 2 days to answer, and we only have a few minutes. So for me, you start with the pinch collars, whatever type of pinch collars you want to use, a good leash, and start making your dog behave. All right, any more questions?
Yes. Carrie asked, this is a longer one, when working on recall using an e-collar, my dog reached a point where she ignores the low level of an e-collar. But if I bump it up, she runs away.
For sure. because you don't know how to train your dog with e-collar.
What am I doing wrong, or how can I
This
get
is-
her back to being comfortable with using the e-collar?
Lurch, the Great Dane.
Carrie is her name. Carrie's the one that's asking.
Your friend?
Different Great Dane. She was in group class and she did private lessons as well.
Yeah, they're real cool dogs.
Yep.
I like so much.
Yep.
So for me, the thing is that it goes back to your dog doesn't understand you. Your dog doesn't understand what you want. There's one day, and I don't see you being in a bad mood because you're too cool. I mean,
Agreed.
you don't like bitch your dog out. I mean, you're always nice. I mean, and that's the way to be if you're going to train dogs. But your dog don't understand you. And for you, the best thing for you to do is come back here for a lesson with your dog.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you set your dog up to fail with the e-collar, you don't quite understand it. And you got a cool dog, so you don't want to continue going the wrong direction with the dog. Because you've done a lot of great work with this dog. And me and Bianca, we talk about this dog once in a while, about how cool a job you've done with it.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to see. But right now, your dog's not understanding you. For me, sometimes with a dog, like today, I told somebody that they had their collar a little bit too high. And I said, turn your collar back down lower and hold it a little bit longer. People misunderstand electric collar and they want to just touch it and quit. And that's not what they're designed for. I mean, you strike your dog so fast, it's like lightning hitting, they don't know why. But if you turn the collar down 2 or 3 notches and hold it for a second or two, it doesn't hurt your dog, but it irritates your dog enough that your dog gives up. Me, I always go back to if you put pressure on somebody with a finger, you don't have to push them over to get them to give. All you got to do is put a consistent amount of light pressure on them. They'll move their hand or arm after a little while because it'll start to irritate them. With dogs are the same way. And they learn, the key to me with dogs and electric collars is as soon as your dog acknowledges you, good, and you let the button go and your dog comes to you. But you make it fun, pat your leg, clap your hands, or do something fun.
Make it fun.
Yes, if you don't make it fun, if your drill sergeant's serious, sometimes it doesn't work.
And doing it consistently. Not that I'm saying, Carrie, that you did this, but if the e-collar goes up for a week and then all of a sudden you bring it back out and...
It's terrible. I mean, and that's like I was saying earlier, people, they want to train 1 minute and they want to let their dog be a turd for the next 2 days because they don't have time. And it don't take long enough. You can drink a half a cup less of coffee and train your dog.
Yeah.
So, and for you, it would be a good time for you to come to the next level class that we're going to have.
I agree.
Carrie.
Yeah.
It'd be fun because you've done such a good job with your dog.
Plus, we miss you and your dog.
Yeah, nobody on here, I don't want anybody to think that I'm literally throwing them under the moving bus. Like I throw Suzanne under the bus, but it ain't moving. Okay?
She likes your honesty
it's
too,
broke
though.
down.
It's another customer that likes hearing the
and
truth.
it's fun. But the thing is with your dog, everybody who's on here watching us is here for a reason. They want to learn. Mm-hmm. And Bianca and I are both here for a reason because we want to teach. Bianca's been out in the vineyard all day in the sun. I guess it's hot outside. I don't know. I didn't think it was, but I wasn't in the vineyard. I was in the air-conditioned dog kennels, covered round pen, and under shade trees. So it wasn't near as bad for me. But the thing is, Bianca's here because she loves it, you know. And the same thing with me. I love training. And we got a drone, too. So we're cruising it around. We got any more questions, Brett?
No, Carrie said, thank you. I'll be seeing you soon. Rodney says, I love your sense of humor.
And it is, for me, it's fun training dogs. And a girl asked me here recently if I considered it I had a job. I'm like, not ever until I get bit. I got a job.
So we just had somebody ask a question real quick before we close out. They said, so should the dog be wearing the e-collar all day, inside and outside?
This is
A lot
Taylor
of
with
times
Ambrose.
people say yes. Huh?
This asking that question is Taylor with Ambrose.
The turd. He's ornery. He should wear it 24/7.
That's why I specified. Scout wears his e-collar all day, every day.
You know, for
really
me,
use
you
it,
should.
but...
You just don't want to get a sore on their neck. But yes,
Yeah.
and Ambrose, I'd leave it on him more than I'd have it off of him. And sometimes I just wouldn't have it as tight, you know. And like I said, move it on a different spot on his neck so it doesn't make it sore. But he's ornery. If you learn to use the e-collar correctly, like y'all are doing a really good job with it, if you're consistent, he's going to be a cool dog. But if you're not going to be consistent, he's not going to be a cool dog.
Yeah.
So, for me, we're going to talk a little bit more about the training with people and the expectations from people. For me, I think people expect sometimes. For me, ever since really got into hardcore training cow dogs like 22 years ago or 23. People has always said, hey, I want my kids to act like your dog does. And I'm like, well, they can, but I've got to train the parent first.
Yeah.
The same thing with dogs. You know, and I remember years ago, I seen a guy that bought really high dollar team pinning horses. Paid big money for them, but he didn't know how to team pin. And so after a month or two, them horses would figure out he didn't know what he was doing, and they'd start screwing up. Well, it just happened to be the guy who sold him the horses for really high dollar was standing there to buy the horse back cheaper because he wasn't a very good horse anymore. And he would buy the horse back, and then 2 or 3 days later, he'd be ready to sell him again because he'd have him tuned up. The dogs are kind of the same way. It doesn't matter what Bianca and I do with dogs here. If you don't take them home and if you're not consistent with training on them, at least till you get them to a level that both of you are comfortable,
right?
The dog's going to go down and you're going to go down. So for me, it's like never ending. I mean, not brag on my dogs because Bianca and even Carrie, you know, and Suzanne and Mariah and Kay, Nancy, Linda, everybody's handled Roxy and Mari. Not just me.
Yeah.
But those dogs are cool. And for somebody to take those dogs and really screw them up would be hard.
Yeah.
Because the key fact is they've never had a problem.
Yeah.
We've always avoided it. We got Roxy at 7 weeks old. So she's never had an issue other than eating turds and sticks and grass and trees or whatever.
But we stopped all
and
other
steals
bad
cell
behaviors.
phones, and she takes collars off dogs, small stuff like that.
She's a bit of a juvenile.
Yeah, she used to untie tennis shoes. She quit at the graduation and went to cell phones. But the key for me is those dogs has never had a problem. So they're like an alcoholic, you know. An alcoholic is they fall off the wagon, they have problems. Dogs that are problem dogs, and we get a lot of them. If you let them fall off the wagon back into the problem, then you got to refix it. But normally, in my experience, it's not as hard to get them back on the wagon.
Agreed.
As it was first time.
Yep.
But if you have a puppy, in my opinion, and like the guy today, he came here with a 12-week-old pup because he don't want a problem. And it's a lab, a border collie. So the thing is, for me with that puppy, I feel he's going to prevent the problems that has to be fixed later. And like I said, with even Bear, Roxy, Mari, they've never had a problem, so they don't need a problem fixed. Dobie, he don't really have problems at all, I don't think. So he don't have nothing he has to fix, as far as I know. Now, Bodie's the same way. He's just cool, but he has a little problem in the house. And for me, that little problem in the house is a 10-minute fix. Maybe, I think today it was 5 minutes with me. But I feel that Suzanne will fix that problem now and go forward with it, and it'll be a done deal. And I don't feel that Bodie will fall back and have a problem because he doesn't really have a problem. Because even with what Bodie's doing, he doesn't understand why he's doing it. He probably seen it on cartoons or something, and he thinks that's what you're supposed to do when somebody comes to the door. And so once we explain to him that that's not what you're supposed to do, he'll be like, okay, then I'll go back to bed. So it's like I said, it's not an issue. A Rottweiler tried to bite me yesterday, 105 pounds or whatever, 9 months old or 7 months old, whatever he is. I told the people that came here with that dog, he just mouths you. Anytime you do something you don't agree, he just like puts his mouth on you. Well, yesterday they quit. You know, I seen what I seen of it. They quit when he done that. Well, I'd been handling him, and I had him at a set, and I went to take his collar off. I had 2 collars on him, pinch collar and his personal collar. I went to take his personal collar off, and he went to mouth me. And I'm like, and I didn't quit, and then he grabbed me. And we'll skip what happened next. So like 2 minutes later, I had a kid that owned him to catch him and put my leash on him and brought him back to me. He brought him back to me. I asked him to sit. He sat. I took his collar off, put it on him like 4 or 5 times, and he's like, yes, sir. Whatever you want to do. He didn't try to mouth me no more. But it was that quick, and it was fixed in my world. Now, I'm not saying he ain't going to eat my ass when he comes back next month. So he's supposed to come back 1st August for board and training. And I pushed it out for a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. But they're going on vacation, and so they're going to leave him here for a week, and then they'll come back and do lessons. But the key to me is I didn't quit, and it's because I'm not smart enough to quit when he mouthed me. Now, could he have bit me? Yes, he could have bit me bad because he's only 9 months old, but he's a big old jug-headed, huge Rottweiler. So when you get in those situations with any of these dogs, you just went from the weak to the strong, from the follower to the leader, and that's when you got to fight if they want to fight. I felt, knock on wood, he didn't want to fight, he quit. So if it would have been the owners, he would have probably bit them. Mm-hmm. Because he don't see them as a leader.
Yeah.
And that's the difference with a lot of dogs between being a leader. You're either a leader or a follower. They're not neutral. Yeah. You know, everybody's not on the same page. You're either in front of them, behind them. And so, you got any more questions?
That's it, Marvin.
So, Bianca, you got anything to add?
Nope.
So, stay tuned for the next level in dog training. And you can't come here weak at heart and crying and shit unless you bring your own paper towels and napkins. Because if you're going to cry and whine, there ain't no need of coming. We're going to have a lot of fun, and like I said, we're going to take it to the next level. Most people don't want to go to the next level. Most people don't even want to learn to train dogs. They just want a cool dog.
Yeah.
But there's people like Suzanne, Kay, Linda, Nancy, me, Bianca, just to name a few. I'm sure there's a few more. Carrie, she even wants to learn.
Yeah.
Mariah, she wants
totally
to learn.
Does, yep.
Jocelyn,
we'll have to ask.
Yeah,
follow
we'll
up
have to
on
ask her. She'll have to bring her napkins probably. But no, it will be fun, I think, and we'll do it out here in the dog playground, and we'll probably video it so we got something to laugh at whenever we're sitting around eating lunch or something. And watch for some of our drone videos. We're going to send some out. And for anybody out there that's watching us, if you would go to Instagram, and what are you supposed to do? Join us or
follow us on Instagram.
Follow us, yeah.
Follow us there. TikTok.
Like our Facebook page.
Yeah, we're on TikTok. Like our Facebook page and share our stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
If you see something we throw out there, try to share whatever you can. We're trying to make us bigger and bigger all the time. Not sure why, because we got a waiting list for dogs coming in, but.
And tag us in your dog content.
Yeah, tag us. If you throw something out there about your dog, and if you've been here, tag us with it. We get people doing that now, and it's pretty fun to see people's dogs out riding kayaks.
Yeah.
And Yona the other day, that lady, she came here, her dog, 6 months ago or 8 months ago, a year ago, whatever, and she got really sick, and so we just kept her dog for a few months until she got to feeling better, and we just started treating him like our dog, and he got to acting just like my dog Bear.
He did.
Yeah, he would sit and stare at you until you pet him, he'd pick your foot up. I mean, he just got to act just like Bear, and he loaded up on a deal in the round pen. And the other day she called and wanted a lesson because her dog chased a horse, or he got in trouble with a horse. So she came back for a lesson, and it literally took us it took us longer to walk up in the field where my dogs or the horses were than it did to fix the problem. And when she left, I told the girls don't charge her, don't let her pay, and I think she already did. They gave her money back because I'm not going to charge her for a 5-minute lesson. But, she went home and she did exactly what I said, and her dog's cool now. She showed us the other day, she took him on a trip somewhere. Mm-hmm. He's riding on a kayak or surfboard or whatever she was on, hanging out and having fun. And sometimes, guys, the fixes are that easy, especially if they've been here for board and train. Yeah. And they go home and they got a little glitch. A lot of times we'll go to someone's house or they come back for another lesson and just fix that problem.
Because they have that foundation.
Yes, and that's it, just because they respect us. Today, Winter came back, the big German Shepherd.
Oh, yeah.
And I hadn't seen him for a month or so. And he came here and he was bad. And he didn't want to eat you. Well, he might, but he didn't really want to. But today he came back and I wasn't in the kennels. And I walked by his kennels an hour or two later, whatever, and I seen him in there. And he's a, 80-pound German Shepherd, or 90, whatever he is. Yeah. I was sitting in the chair doing my paperwork that Bianca forgets to do part-time on dogs. And Mariah came by. Mariah came by with Winter. And he drug Mariah over to my chair so I could pet on him. And before, when he came here, he would have drug her over to eat my ass. But this time, he was not accepting the fact that I wasn't going to pet him and say hi. So he drug Mariah over to my chair, and I petted and hugged on him, and then he took off there. He was cool. But it's fun to see those dogs come back. And the thing is, for people with dog boarding, I feel here, we don't really board dogs per se. We don't market it, but we board dogs that we've trained. But he came here like he was coming home. He was so excited to be here. And the neat thing is when he goes home, I don't even know when he's going home, but he'll be excited to go back home. But it's not stressing the dogs out from being here. So everybody remember, go check us out on Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and check out our website. We're making changes on it all the time. And everybody enjoy your weekend. Thanks a lot.